let's talk about this movie, Tokyo Godfathers. Satoshi Kon's third movie, is it? Yeah, this is
yes.
Kon's third animated movie. He might have done some live action stuff. I don't know.
I don't think he did.
All right. Kon wrote and directed it, and co-writing it with him was Kaiko Nobumoto, the creator of Wolf's Rain and a head scriptwriter for Cowboy Bebop. So this is a pretty all-star crew.
Yeah, we got a powerhouse going on. And it feels like it. I mean, the writing of this movie is absolutely...
It's spectacular.
Spectacular. Like...
Oh yeah, I super dug it.
It was so tight. And so much characterization in dialogue, which is something that a lot of films forget to do. Mm-hmm. Even in Japanese films, where it's like, hi, I'm 12 years old, and I'm starting school, my birth year is blah blah, my sign, la la la. No, it's like, we're going to tell you everything you need to know about these characters through their interactions with each other. Which is the way you learn about real people in real life most of the time. So it's cool when they do that in film.
This movie is a Christmas movie. That's why we're talking about it now. Like, this is coming out on the Friday before Christmas, which is unfortunately like 6 days before Christmas because the calendar wanted to screw up our fucking thing. Screw you, Gregor.
But you have 6 days of Christmas anticipation.
Yeah. As a Christmas movie, it has a lot of sort of comically obvious, like deliberately comically obvious parallels with the whole Three Wise Men stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of this movie is it's very sincere and also a lot of times very tongue-in-cheek. It doesn't take itself super seriously.
Oh no, like, I equated it to, like, I honestly, because just with how many, like, random chance meetings and coincidences and plot conveniences there are, but it all works, it flows, and you believe it, I equated it to, like, a Shakespearean comedy.
Yeah, and that's part of the point, I mean, of the film, because the whole idea is that this divine baby, or whatever, and all these characters are sort of blessed, so to speak. And Satoshi Kon, this is probably his most different thing he's worked on compared to his other works. Most of his works are like really crazy and abstract and high art and high concept stuff, where this is pretty grounded in reality and very simple. But, you know, it stays true.
For him, there is a lot of magical realism in this. Am I using that right?
Oh,
this is
yes, it is. Okay. This is definitely magical.
I'm going to learn. By the end, 3 more months of this podcast, and I'm going to know for sure when something's magical realism.
But what it has that is particularly Satoshi Kon is, you know, he always has a social commentary, and he always has these insights into the human conditions, and he always likes to highlight things about society, particularly Japanese society, because that's the one he lives in, that people don't like to acknowledge exist. And in this whole movie, even though it's a fun family comedy, we have all of these things happening, this sort of underbelly of Tokyo that the common grandmama probably doesn't want to talk about on the table. But yeah, it is contrived in a lot of ways, but it's purposeful. Like, Kon, another theme that he has in a lot of his films is he likes to explore the nature of filmmaking itself, and what are films, and what do films do, and how are films different from reality. And this is a very sort of subtle acknowledgement of that. Now, the reason why it has a lot to do with, the Christmas story of the Three Wise Kings is that it's actually based on the John Wayne film Three Godfathers, like very loosely. It was a 1948 film based on like a silent film called The Three Godfathers. It's basically about a bunch of Western schmucks who come across a baby and go on this crazy adventure, and it's a retelling of the Three Wise Men. But I don't believe it's a Christmas story, explicitly. But yeah, that's sort of the film history. Oh no, there is Christmas stuff. Okay, whatever. But
apparently the John Wayne one was the second. The 1936 Three Godfathers was a remake of a 1916 Three Godfathers,
which was
based on a best-selling novel
that was made in 1913. So this is a very long story.
Yeah, and then like the
And there was a lost remake in 1919 called Marked Men.
Yeah.
And then of course the story this is all taking inspiration from happened in the year 1. Or maybe 1 BC. I'm not sure where we delineate that.
Now my question is, where does Kevin Bacon fit?
But Tokyo Godfathers came out in 2003. And the story is pretty simple, but a good base for a story. It's Christmas Eve, and a makeshift family of 3 homeless individuals, a middle-aged alcoholic, a trans woman and former drag queen, and a runaway teenage girl happen upon a baby abandoned in the garbage.
What is this voice you're doing?
This is I'm going to weave you a tale voice.
Is this your, like, reading for kids at the library voice?
Yes, maybe.
I hope.
Yeah, it is.
I would.
They find this baby and are like, we should probably do something. Or rather, Hana says we should do something, because one thing that happens a lot in this film is that Hana is pretty much the instigator for a lot of the forward movement of the plot.
Of the 3, Hana is the trans woman.
Yes.
Miss Hana.
So they take up the baby, even though they're homeless and can't even feed themselves. Like, we're going to find this baby's mom, and we're going to go on this ragtag wild adventure throughout the city and run into all these crazy things and have all these adventures, and it's just a fun, heartwarming adventure.
It's a damn adventure, you simpletons.
Yeah, and one place to start is that, our 3 protagonists are all homeless people.
Yes.
And this movie avoids the trap of being kind of condescending to the plight of the homeless.
No.
There's no effort to, like, build up the homeless as, like, super noble and, like, inherently heroic for, casting off, society's materialism. It's not like it's their fucking choice.
Yeah.
These are
just people.
These are 3 people who have almost nothing, who scrape by, and we see. It's very interesting to see, like, a lot of the things that they do that's so commonplace to them, that they just have to do to survive. One thing that they do in the movie is, they are starving, they're out of money and food, and they come across a graveyard. And a common practice in Japan is to leave gifts for the dead. And they're like, well, I mean, we're hungry, so we're going to take this stuff that you left for the dead people. Which, I mean, there's almost like a weird social commentary that could be, and is likely deliberate, the idea that, these people will give gifts to people who are dead and literally cannot make use of them, while there are people starving and freezing to death on the streets.
And the fun thing about that scene is that they needed food and supplies for the baby, and they're like, we're never going to find offerings for a baby. And lo and behold, at a baby's grave, there were diapers and milk and all the shit that they needed.
So, again...
Praise the Lord.
Yeah, it's like, thanks for dying, baby. It's like, so they felt they had to feel even more guilty about that than they normally do for robbing these graves.
Hana didn't seem so upset.
Yeah.
She was pretty happy about it.
Yeah, but I think there's an undercurrent of that, because it's not like they're guiltless about it.
No.
They're Japanese. I'm pretty sure they can't be guiltless about anything.
Yeah, a lot of the events in the movie are based on some real-life events that occurred in Japan around the time the film was made. There's a pretty brutal scene where Jin, one of the, or Gin.
I think it's Gin.
Yeah, it's Gin, sorry. One of the homeless men, the alcoholic one, is beaten up by a group of teenagers. And it's based on a similar incident involving a homeless man being beaten up very brutally by teenagers in Tokyo around that time. And then Miyuki, the runaway teenage girl, spoilers, she ran away from home because she accidentally stabbed her dad.
Accidentally is not, like, the most accurate word.
And that is based on a story that was really highly publicized in the news where a teenage girl stabbed her father after getting into an argument with him about which TV channel they should watch. And then the whole thing with the locker.
What part of Japan did that happen in? Was it the Florida of Japan?
Maybe. I don't know.
Where is the Florida of Japan?
I don't know. Somebody... Right.
The Japanese youth are under a lot of stress, okay? They have so much school.
It's like finals all the time.
Yeah, pretty much. And then the baby, when they find the baby, they find a locker key and some information. And there was a period in Tokyo where there was this craze of mothers who didn't want their children abandoning their babies in these public lockers that you could rent out to store your backpack or whatever. And there was the cases of numerous babies found in these lockers almost dead or dead. So presumably that's what happened to the baby in this story before the mother changed her mind and threw her in the dumpster. Or no, it was the father. It was the husband of the mother who found the baby and was like, you can't keep her in this locker, but he threw her in the garbage anyway. So, yeah. Some background.
Yeah, I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
But going back to what you were saying about the scene where he gets beat up by the youths, did either of you notice the gag while that was going on?
Which one?
Okay, so it goes to a profile perspective, and so the guy's on one side of the screen and the kid who's fighting him is on the other, and above their heads are lit windows, a row of lit windows and the skyscraper in the background, and every time one of them gets hit, one of the windows flicks out, they're fucking health bars.
Oh.
Holy shit.
That's why the windows are randomly flickering off.
I didn't notice that. A lot of them...
Yeah.
This movie is fucking hilarious. And I'm not saying this thing... I'm not... This is a bad scene for me to bring this up where a man was brutalized, but...
Abandoned babies stabbing teenagers.
No, despite that...
That old man died in a pile of garbage. Oh, my side.
But no, this movie's approach to humor is really good. It's a lot of really subtle gags, really smart written humor. A lot of it is character-based. I think my favorite gag is when they're in the drag bar and Hana's explaining to her mother. We're going to get back to that because that's not as...
We're going to go through each character.
Is about the baby being abandoned. The mom's like, abandoned? And then this drunk person on the bar is like, yes, I've been abandoned! It's very much... I can sort of tell a Japanese humor aesthetic, but it translates pretty well.
Yeah, it's not too Japanesey.
Which is why I like it. Because a lot of that really Japanesey humor just doesn't work for me. I find it ingratiating.
Yeah, but
a
lot of this
it comes from a culture that is not ours, so we don't always click with it.
But I feel like so much of this movie is very universal in so many ways, and the struggles in the characters. So it doesn't really matter where it takes place so much. Though of course that there's a significance to that as well.
You want to talk about the characters?
Yes. So let's start with probably the main character, Hana, played by Yoshiaki Umegaki, is pretty much the main character. She's sort of the mother, the glue of this makeshift family. She's the one that keeps them in line. She's the one that keeps them motivated. She's the one that instigates pretty much everything that happens in this film that's sort of up to them. She's the one that's yes, we have to take care of this baby. We have to find its mother. We can't give up. We have to do this. We have to do that. Blah, 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 blah. Without Hana, this story wouldn't have happened, and the baby probably would have died. Which is a unique thing to see with, a queer character in film, because usually they're more of a supporting role or a comic relief. But, Hana's really funny, but they're all funny. But she definitely has the most important role to play out of the three, I would say, as far as plot is concerned.
No, definitely. She's not given top billing. That's given to Toru Amoria's Gin. Mm-hmm. But And the way that the movie is kind of framed is trying to like frame him as the main protagonist, but really in terms of influence to the plot, it's definitely Hana.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I never thought about it. I never thought about it while I was watching it, because while I was watching it, like, I didn't find it too hard just to consider them all equal in terms of storytelling. I feel like they each get their own fair amount of, like, screen time.
They definitely do.
Now that now that I'm pressed to think about it, like Hana is like the driving force behind everything. I never really thought that Jin was like made to be the focus. Like if anything, like what is it, Miyuki?
Yeah.
Like I thought she was sort of like given the most, like in terms of like having the arc that seems to be like the most important. I don't know, because she gets like that whole dream sequence, and like that her plot is at the very, very last second of the film, and
yeah.
like she gets kidnapped and like has that whole bonding moment with the big titty lady.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't mean to say that like Hana is like the star character and the other characters don't exist. It's not it at all. It's just Hana is interesting because
none of us are really saying anything. We're just talking about a movie.
Hana doesn't really have an arc in a way, other than trying to accomplish this mission, whereas Gin and Miyuki, have some demons they have to overcome.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, Hana's only like inner conflict of her past was really just her like over exaggerating, just like she kind of fucked up and yelled at a jackass at her bar, and then she was like, I can never come back, I've shamed myself. And then everybody was just like, yeah, I don't give a shit, you could have come back, we don't care, that guy was an asshole.
Yeah, but there's also her this whole thing being her desire to be a mother, something that she never thought she would be able to experience for a multitude of reasons, because she's biologically a man and she's homeless.
Yeah, she wanted to be the mother she never had.
Also,
that was her motivation. She was abandoned as a child too, and for her to like fill in this role is like, for her, it's coming full circle. And Hana is also the most spiritual of the three. She's actually like one of the few Christians in Japan. Like, the movie opens with them attending some sort of service, and the other two are, like, super confused, but she's just, like, really into it.
I like that opening scene.
Miyuki wasn't even there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that, because, like, you've got this, like, Japanese priest, which is, like, it was really weird to, like, see and hear and whatnot, and like, but clearly, I'm pretty sure... The vibe I got from that, maybe I misinterpreted it, was like it was a room, like the sermon was offering like a dinner at the end, so the homeless people all showed up for the food and did not care what that man had to say at all, but had to sit through it.
No, that's evangelism all over the place. They'll give you a place to sleep and something to eat, but you gotta sit down and listen to some guy yell about Jesus for a while. That's universal. That's how it's a grift, really.
But it felt like Hana really believed in it, because she was the one.
Hana was the only one.
Yeah, everybody else was just sitting there waiting for food, which, I mean, that's a church thing pretty all over the place, I think.
That's why I do half of the things I do, so I can get food later.
That's actually, that's the secret to life.
And I mean, it opened up with, this kind of brutal, dark irony of like this guy giving this sermon about how like Jesus was born in a manger so that he could give a home for people who had no place for themselves, and he's telling this without any kind of self-awareness to a bunch of people who live in boxes in a park,
and it's cold. It's wintertime.
Yeah. It's
the fact that the baby didn't die.
It's like, who does he think he's helping?
I don't know.
These people know very well that they don't have homes because they're cold and hungry.
You think
all
like
the
because
time.
he had to prepare that speech for that specific event. He had to be like, okay, what stuff am I gonna spout for these homeless people that are gonna come for the food? I don't know. Maybe like the worst thing you could say to a homeless person. Let's do that.
Yeah. Like, don't aspire for greater. This is where you belong, because baby Jesus said so.
But then they find baby Jesus.
Yeah, and I mean that's I think a great example of the kind of humor of this movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then
would it be fair to call it like? I feel like it's teetering on the edge of like a dark humor.
No,
almost.
Oh yeah, like the scene where they finally find who they think to be the mother.
Yeah, that was dark as hell on the bridge.
Yeah, that was pretty dark.
Yeah,
that was dark
like
as
hell.
That
was for laughs.
It's like, oh, okay.
I can see myself now taking my shoes. Anyway, yeah.
All right, so Gin.
Gin is an alcoholic. He is constantly changing his story about why he is in this position that he's in. Just I guess as a plea for sympathy. In his initial story, which was very sad and very uplifting, very tragic. And then we eventually learned the real thing is that he was kind of a shithead.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a gambler.
He was married, he had a child, but he kind of fucked up and was too ashamed to face his family again.
And his arc is largely about him reconciling his past and trying to become a better person. There's that huge fight between him and Hana where Hana says, you're trash, you're just as good living or dead, so you might as well just crawl into a gutter and die for all anybody will care. I'm very mad at you right now.
I love Hana so much.
You think Hana's in love with Gin?
Yeah.
So all that was coming from a very complicated place. And just to clarify, regarding like Hana's pronouns and everything, does she ever refer to herself as one? Because I remember her saying that she always wished she was a woman, which is not necessarily the same thing as being trans.
Well,
yeah, this I
it's
feel
a little
like
sticky because in Japan, as far as gendered pronouns go, it's not as clear cut as it is in English. I wrote this down.
You don't even have to use gendered pronouns. There are anime characters where their gender is never specified, and they never have to dance around pronouns. They just don't.
That was Samus in the instruction booklet for Metroid 1. Whereas in the English booklet, because they don't have that option, they just said he. They just had to lie.
What the fuck's a singular they?
But in the movie, the word that's used for Hana a lot is okama, which is a very...
It's that video game about the wolf.
No. It's a word that doesn't have a very specific definition as far as we're concerned. It could be anything from a somewhat effeminate gay man to a trans woman. So it's someone who's expected to adhere to masculine standards of behavior and doesn't. So it's not specific at all. However, I think we can safely say that she's trans because she says she wants to be a woman. But and whenever she refers to herself as a man, she's doing it in a derogatory sense, if you notice.
Yeah.
When she calls herself the F word and a homo and all these things. She's doing it to sort of beat down on herself. So I don't think that's how she really wants to be or how she truly sees herself.
I agree. Is speculative. I agree with you. I just feel like this is something that should be addressed because, this world's getting more enlightened. The three of us are getting more enlightened about stuff like this. I want to make sure that we talked about it properly.
Yeah, no. But I think the reason that it was so, I think the reason that it is a little confusing thing is because because like you said, like Okama is just such a giant catch-all term. It lumps a whole bunch of different people under the same label, and that just sort of gives the impression that Japan as a culture doesn't really just sort of lumps them all together like that. Like they just see it like the social issue is like it's like you're either if you're feminine then you're just like an effeminate man. You're an Okama. You're this. Like it doesn't matter if like that. Basically, wow, words.
And even if you are like, you know, an Okama, however you choose to see yourself that way, it's not always clear cut. Like there's a lot of history of drag queens who start out as drag queens and then decide they want to be actual women. So it's not this like easy to pinpoint definition.
Yeah, no, I've never liked those. I've never liked those sorts of labels at all, and this one is just so broad that I'm like, why is it even a word? Oh my god.
Yeah, it's not. Hana is Hana, like
yeah. And I feel like maybe because Hana is from that culture that sort of lumps everything together, maybe she doesn't even fully comprehend what she is because she's just an Okama. That what is it? It can mean a million different things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not very well versed in the history of queer culture in Japan, but I have
it's not great.
Feeling doesn't quite reflect what it's like in the United States, where it's quite as a community. Well, I mean, there's communities, but it's not the same form, and they don't have the same terms and philosophies about stuff. Anyway, but yeah, if anybody has
legitimate factual things that we clearly don't know that we should know, send us information about all this sorts of stuff, because we would like to be edumacated here on Toon Goons.
I read that she does tend to use a lot of feminine speak.
Which doesn't come through in the subtitles. By the way, this movie is only in Japanese. There is no dub, and it, I'm sure a dub would work for it, but it doesn't need one.
No. And it's been out for so long, like...
It's like, why... There's no money in this, in like, doing that. Like, financially, there's no reason for them to do that. Yeah, like, I'm generally a dubs guy, but, you know, I'll accept subs.
So,
and then
Gin?
We did...
Oh, no, Miyuki? Okay.
Yeah, Miyuki is a teenage runaway. And it's interesting, because the three of them are kind of a cross-section of different, I guess, origins of homelessness.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also just like the types of people that you're not supposed to talk about.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because, you know, Gin is an alcoholic and a gambler, and in Japan, if you're not aware, gambling is illegal. Gambling is across the board illegal, except pachinko. In practice, gambling, but it's legal because of Yakuza money.
I thought they I thought they recently illegalized pachinko.
That may be true.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
because I was talking to somebody about that, and they mentioned that pachinko was maybe illegal. I don't know.
But he's also just a deadbeat father.
Yeah. You know, Hana is a queer and trans homelessness is a huge fucking problem. That's everywhere. You know, there are groups of people who society does not want to accept, and then Miyuki made the choice out of a moment of passion, I suppose, not super level-headed,
and fear, and being a teenager and scared.
Yeah, that she had to run away from home and not come back. Yeah. So she is far younger than the rest of them. Do we have like an idea of how old she is? Like
high school, probably. I don't know if they mention it, but yeah, she's young. And one of the interesting things is that we really get to see how homelessness takes a toll on the body through her, because when we see the flashback of her with, you know, committing that thing with her dad and getting in trouble, she was pretty chubby.
Yeah.
And in the movie, she's not. She lost a lot of weight, and apparently she's only been away from home for a few months. So in that small amount of time,
I thought it was like a year.
Or maybe like a year. I don't know. But still, that's a lot of weight to lose because she can't find food to eat.
Yeah, she is like hip new diet, malnourishment.
No.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Do we ever find out why she stuck around with Hana and Gin?
Not explicitly. In fact, Hana and Gin don't even seem on the surface don't seem to like each other. I assume that with that kind of lifestyle where, you know, every day is a struggle for survival, that there's some strength in numbers to be had.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I guess they just stick together because it's easier for them that way. And it may be, Gin said that he'd been living on the streets for like 30 years. And
he has experience.
And Hana had been living on the streets from birth, like had a home for a little bit and then went back on the streets. So if we're looking at like a symbiotic relationship, Miyuki could see them as like mentors, as people to guide her to learn the trappings of this lifestyle, which absolutely there's technique to it. There's shit you got to learn how to do and learn what to look out for and stuff. And Miyuki has, unlike them, young and like largely able-bodied, more so than them.
Yeah.
They're like old and dying, where she got. So I can see how that kind of relationship would have formed, but no, we absolutely don't see how that happened specifically.
Well, but also based on her dream sequence, I'm not sure if it was more like by that point in the movie she felt this way about them, or she always had, but they were her surrogate family, like literally mother and father to her.
Oh, yeah.
And again, I don't know if that's why she initially stuck with them, or that's how she felt about them through all the baby shenanigans they just had. But
I mean, they are a makeshift family. They're this the most unconventional family in film, or whatever the dumb tagline is for the American release.
Wow, garbage. For real?
No, I don't know. But yeah,
I was gonna say
they're this makeshift family, and that's one of the things that separates this film from other Japanese Christmas affair, is that it actually deals with Christmas themes like family.
I'm upset that there was no Kentucky Fried Chicken.
For those of you who don't know, Christmas in Japan is mostly commercial and involves hanging out with, like, your lover. It's like a third Valentine's Day, because they already have another Valentine's Day.
Somehow, De Beers did for engagements and their rings, KFC did that for Christmas in Japan. They got the jump on it and somehow convinced them that, like, in order to celebrate the baby Jesus, y'all need some of the Colonel's 11 herbs and spices in a bucket. Catch it in your mouth, because it's delicious.
So on this adventure are 4 heroes.
The 12 Spices Christmas spirit.
The baby, they decide to name the baby Kyoko because it means pure child, as she's born on Christmas Eve. And they run into a lot of Kyokos in this movie, which is part of the whole, like, coincidences and contrivances thing.
I like that.
Yeah.
The plot of this movie is, if you're cynical about it, extremely contrived, but it all ties to the theme of togetherness and these things that link us together as people. Because really, they keep running into the same people in a city of 13 million. One of the most populous cities on the planet.
Yeah.
And, like, every time they need a cab, it's the same poor bastard.
I like that guy.
But yeah, they they're searching for their mom. They end up running in with the Yakuza, and...
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, like, talking about the driver and things, that reminded me, because I've been thinking of what my favorite goof was. When the ambulance crashes into the
oh my god!
And he just walks out and is like, someone call an ambulance. Like, I knew it was coming, but I was still just like, they're not gonna fucking do it, are they? Yeah.
I can't wait to see this movie on Thursday. I'm showing it for my club, but yeah, they run into the Yakuza. They run into this Latino hitman and his wife.
Yeah, one thing that's very interesting is that this movie shows a Latino community in Tokyo. And the thing with a lot of Japanese media, and as a result, Western perception of Japan, is that it's a very homogenous society. Whereas this movie is like, no, there's non-Japanese people living in this country. And it's not just white nerds who moved here because they thought it'd be cool. It's like, here's a bunch of, Latino people who are clearly also scraping to get by. They don't know the language.
Apparently there is a community of Latino immigrants in Japan.
That's really interesting.
Which is something I never knew until I watched this movie. But, like, it came up in another show I was watching, and my friend who is Japanese mentioned, yeah, like they're making fun of the Spanish accent of the Japanese, and I was like, wait, how do they even? Is that a thing? And he's like, yeah, there are people who came to Japan from Spanish-speaking countries and are usually pretty poor, and their accent is different, and they get made fun of it. So it's like, yeah, I had no idea this was a thing, but it's a thing. And this scene is really sweet because at first the hitman like kidnaps Miyuki and the baby because his hit got botched and he was just trying to get away and escape.
He just needed a human shield. But the guy's not a monster. He sees her and is like, I'm sorry, I'm going to bring you somewhere safe while this heat dies down because you're a kid with a baby. I'm not going to shoot you. I'm not the devil. I'm just trying to kill the Yakuza who are the devil. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean...
I don't know much about Yakuza. The thing I know the most about Yakuza is that they could run circles over any organized crime organization in the United States. We've got fucking nothing on them.
Yeah, basically. That's all I know.
And also I know the pinky thing. Which, this is the third time is the third time I saw the movie. I never noticed that shot. I thought that he read something on the card that indicated that he was in the Yakuza. And also, earlier, the guy said, I usually, whenever I go to the graveyard, I don't have my men with me. So I'm like, okay, if he's... There are enough pieces... Because they never say Yakuza once in this movie. No, they do. The radio guys do, but none of the characters do.
Right. Well, because probably in reality, you would never just fucking say Yakuza out loud.
No, especially if you are the Yakuza.
Yeah, I mean, when Gin finds out he's Yakuza, he's like, okay, we're not... I mean, the guy said, the Yakuza guy says, I owe you a life debt, and he finds out he's Yakuza, and they're like, I don't want to be involved with this.
Very wisely.
Yeah.
So remember, the next time you see someone trapped under a car, leave him be.
But yeah,
it's not your problem.
The scene with the Latino people, all the Spanish is actually very well spoken. It sounds like native speakers.
Oh yeah.
They got to speak it, and none of it's translated.
Yeah, there's no subtitles because you're not supposed to understand it.
Yeah, but what they're basically...
But I do.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it too. But
dang it.
But what they're saying is, first the guy was saying, I'll kill you if you don't cooperate, but then once everybody leaves him alone, he's like, he drops the axe, says, I want to help. He's saying, the baby needs milk. Like, baby's hungry.
That's what the thing about leche?
Yeah, leche is milk.
Quiero
so
leche?
saying,
I knew I should have... I knew what that word was, but I forgot.
It's like, baby needs milk, baby's hungry, and he was just trying to lead him to his wife, who recently had a baby, and so she's breastfeeding. And Miyuki has this bonding moment with this woman, even though they can't really speak the same language at all. The only word they seem to understand is police.
That was a really great
scene.
scene.
The thing is that they both are able to make do by saying the couple of English words they both know.
Yeah, that was great.
And then there's this really cute scene where the mother asks about the baby and where the baby came from because she recognizes that it's not Miyuki's baby. And Miyuki looks very sarcastic, like, oh, the baby? It's a gift from God. And then the mother says, yes, exactly. And it's this really sweet thing that, you don't pick up if you don't know the language.
Yeah. Again, it's the show's very dry humor.
Yeah, but I just love that dual wielding breastfeeding, just like feeding two babies at once.
Got the goods.
I am a maternal goddess.
Basically, that just made me fall in love with that woman. Just like, yes, holy shit. This is great. This is a great lady. I love it.
And one other thing I want to mention, because we didn't talk very much about Kyoko the baby, because she's not much of a character, because she's just a baby and she's a MacGuffin. But the mole on her forehead is supposed to be a reference to the Buddha. To sort of as a signifier of her divinity and her... Because the whole movie, they keep saying, man, this baby is really freaking lucky. It keeps not dying, even though it should.
It won the lottery.
Yeah, they won the lottery.
Yeah, I actually didn't catch that whole lottery thing. What was the lottery thing? Because I know the number was 1100, 1111.
The old man that Gin helped, who was dying.
Oh yeah.
And he was there. He says, "Have this," to thank him for looking after him while he was dying. And they finally, at the end of the movie, when I guess it fell out of his pocket or whatever, they looked at the number and it was the winning lottery number.
And he had a bunch of them.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, they might not be homeless anymore. Who knows?
Because the indication, because at the end, Miyuki finds her father, again, through insane coincidence. Yeah. And so there's the implication that they're going to reconcile and she's going to move back in.
And Gen finds his daughter.
Gin finds his daughter, and Hana reunites with his mother, who's another...
his house mother.
His house mother. So it's possible that after this, they're going to have places to go.
Her house mother.
Yeah, sorry. We didn't do that on purpose. It's a very happy ending all the time, everything. Well, nobody dies. I mean, Sachiko's probably not doing great.
Yeah, it's very happy for everybody except for Sachiko, who is...
Sachiko is the woman who... She was pregnant. For the majority of the movie, they think that Sachiko is the mother out of the clues that they're able to assemble. It turns out that, yes, she was pregnant, but she had a stillborn child and stole Kyoko from the baby ward in the hospital. Is that what they call the baby ward? Baby town?
It's called the infant prison.
Baby jail.
They know what they did.
And then abandons it in fear, and then reunites with it later when they find Sachiko, and then they have to take it back. It's a whole thing. It's very
it's very complicated,
and it's also
it's a Shakespearean goddamn comedy.
She has a fucked up relationship with her husband.
It's a very real thing, that kind of super severe postpartum depression, where it's not just regular postpartum depression because there's no baby anymore.
Yeah,
there's no baby, and also she thought the baby was going to help their relationship. And so she needed a baby to help their relationship.
That's just the grit.
And then, because it's the husband who finds the baby in the locker and takes her out of the locker and into where the trio found them.
Which is outside a dumpster.
Which is outside a dumpster. So they all sort of have this crazy part to play. But they eventually find their real parents. And they become the Godfathers. Yay.
I feel like the locker was an initial why was the trash preferable to the locker?
I don't
because the baby could have been crying in the locker, and they'd find out, they'd trace whoever rented the locker, and they'd get in trouble.
Oh yeah.
Oh, selfish.
The quickness with which I said that makes it sound like I've put a lot of thought into abandoning babies. I haven't, but what else in this movie? It's good. There's a lot of good soundtrack. I don't really know what else to say about it. It's really good.
Yeah, no, this is it's like most things we talk about. It's very much worth your time.
Yeah, now it's hard to find right now.
The movie is by Keiichi Suzuki.
Is a composer?
Yeah, Keiichi Suzuki.
Now this movie is hard to find. It was on Netflix last year. It isn't anymore. I don't think there's any free streaming site that has it, but you can find the DVD. Probably not that expensive because it's a DVD. I mean, what are you talking about?
Yeah, and it's, it only has the one print. I'm trying to look what the hell company...
It was Sony.
Distributed it.
Sony.
Sony? This says Destination Films.
Distributed by Sony Pictures Entertainment Japan.
Okay.
Maybe Destination did the...
Oh, Columbia. I'm talking about the United States.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think it was distributed by Columbia TriStar Home Entertainment in the United States. But they only just made the DVD of it in 2004, which was the year after it came out. So.
Yeah, you can find it on Amazon new, $24 with Prime, but you can find it used for way, way cheaper than that.
Totes.
Mm-hmm.
It's 92 minutes, so it's not super long. It's a great thing to sit down and watch with your whole family.
And if it's the kind of thing where you've got a family member who you're trying to get to accept anime more, this is a good place to do it, because it's a story that is easy to grasp. like the most out there thing about it is the coincidence and the magical realism. It's certainly much less obtuse than the other Satoshi Kon movie I've seen, which is Paprika, which we may one day talk about. That was an obtuse movie.
Yeah, well, most of his.
I want to watch it though. I'm told it's Inception.
Inception is Paprika.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
There are literal shots from that movie ripped off from Paprika. Like shit.
One shot.
Oh, really?
It's more Darren Aronofsky who ripped off a lot of shots from Satoshi Kon's Perfect Blue because he bought the licensing to Perfect Blue.
Oh. So
he could use the shots in his movie Requiem for a Dream. And also Black Swan. Yeah. But yes, this movie, yes, it's got all that magical realism and plot contrivances, but it's Christmas. They're miracles. It's beautiful. Like, come on. If you can't get your heart warmed up by this, I don't want to be your friend.
The only reason you shouldn't be able to warm your heart is because you're homeless and it's cold.
Yes. Exactly.
Satoshi Kon hasn't made like that much stuff. We should totally just like knock him out.
I mean, why?
He passed away.
Yeah.
After.
But I mean, still, he was making stuff from '98 to '06, and it was only like a handful of stuff.
Yeah, it's 6 films and a TV series.
Yeah, we could totally do like a month, a Kon month.
I would love to do that. He is amazing. One of the greats. One of the unspoken greats. Alright, so I think that's about it for this movie.
Yep. Our highest recommendation, like I said, like I don't get super into Christmas because I'm kind of my heart is kind of like this black desiccated clump of ash.
Nikki's a Krampus.
No, that's a dream. But so it's not like I have that many favorite Christmas. I think it's like this and then Die Hard.
Okay, for me it's this, Die Hard, and Muppet Christmas Carol.
Oh fuck, Muppet Christmas Carol. And actually, I like Mickey Christmas Carol too.
I like Mickey Christmas Carol too.
Mippy's Carambo songs.
Yes.
Basically, the alternate title for like what was it? What's it? Otter's Jug Band Christmas or whatever.
Oh my god.
The other Muppet movie that no one else remembers.
I don't know.
It's someone Otter's Jug Band Christmas, and it was literally Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. It was Jim Henson, but it wasn't any actual Muppets. It was just puppets that were original in their own dumb story about a bunch of hillbilly lake animals having Christmas.
Cool.
This isn't even auto-completing on Google.